Okay, some of you I know very well, some of you I don't know, some of you I know from Facebook, and some of you I just know by your names that I've seen in the industry. I'm Suzi Mechler. I was privileged enough to be the daughter of a lovely gentleman and wonderful, bright woman who were originally from the mainland but made the choice to leave their families and come live out in Hawaii in the early 1940s. So I bow down to their altar every day because this place is where I'm meant to be. I know what, white, you know, but I'm like a manapua. I kind of white on the outside, but I'm really brown on the inside. So this is where I'm meant to be. Hawaii is my home. My children were born here. My husband was born here. We were very lucky that this is our place. I have been in the entertainment industry my whole life. I started off working in concert promotion. I went 24 years at KSSK Radio as their director of operations. From there, I spent 8 years. God, you're adding this up and you're going to figure out how old I am. I spent 8 years as vice president for Mountain Apple Company, doing mostly licensing and marketing for them. And then about 10 years ago, my husband, who was a brilliant landscape architect, said, I need help. And I chalked up my job and moved into our home office, fearful that I would never shave my legs again because I'd never have to go out in public. And been working with him for 10 years, also doing some photography on the side. But my heart is in Hawaiian music, and I dance hula, I paddle canoe. This is just who I am. So this past year, out of the blue, a gentleman who was vice president of music licensing for Sony Pictures called me 10 years after having worked with him last and said, "Hi, darling, what you doing? You want to help me clear some music?" And I went, "Okay," because they didn't know Hawaiian music. So they were smart enough to bring somebody in who did know Hawaiian music. And I cleared 20 songs for the upcoming Bradley Cooper movie, which is coming out, called Aloha. It's coming out on May 29th. Got a wonderful respect for Sony Pictures. They pay Hawaiian artists, the Hawaiian composers and artists, what they pay their mainland people. So we should be very proud of the fact that our art, our craft, is valued by people out there. And we need to take advantage of that. In trying to explain some of what I'm going to cover today, which is licensing music, I start talking about sync and mechanical and master licensing and things like that, and people's eyes, even if they're in the business, they start to glaze over, and they cross and they kind of go, ah. So I thought licensing is a little bit like a language, is that you have to, some people pick it up a little bit more quickly than others. That, you know, some people get the concept of what licensing and the business side is all about, and some people it takes a little longer. So I decided that maybe something visual would help if you're a visual learner, and something very basic would help. So today's workshop is brought to you by the letter C, P, A, and L. Okay, we're going to Sesame Street route here. So we're going to start with C. C, creative, contemporary, current, classical, crafty, craft. Composers. How many of you compose music in this room? Perfect. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, because the back row thought they were going to get away with this, you're going to be my composer for today. Okay? P. Okay, so here's the P. Protect, preserve, promote, publishers. Okay? So you're my publisher. Now, Miss C over there, composer, there's nothing that says she cannot be her own publisher. This is where the germ of the entire thing starts, is with a song, a melody, the lyrics, whatever. And composers, and I speak from experience on this because my husband is a brilliant designer. He doesn't want to mess with the paperwork. He doesn't want to file GE tax returns. He doesn't want to talk to the accountant. He doesn't want to schedule his appointments. He just wants to create. And so I think the first thing you have to recognize is that if you are somebody that wants to control your own music as a composer, that is certainly an option. You can be your own publisher. So the C and P can actually go together. But there are, yes, little kiss there. But there's, you can, and the same time, I think if you find the realization that you really don't want to do all of that, there can be wonderful working relationships with publishing companies that will help you protect your music. There are several different kinds of relationships that you can have with a publishing company. You can have a relationship with a publishing company where they actually control your music. They go out, they promote it. They try and find music licensing fees for you. They do all the paperwork. They're responsible for making sure that your music gets heard. Normally in that case, and it varies, I'm not going to say this is set in concrete, it normally comes a 50-50 split with any licensing fees. The publishing company takes 50%, the artist gets 50%, or the composer gets 50%. And they actually are responsible for actively marketing your music. If that's something you want to do on your own, 100%, you got it. But there are people who just don't want to do that. They just don't want to deal with it. They don't know how to do it. Publishing companies can be very valuable that way. And I don't want people to ever think that, oh my God, I got 50% of my music to somebody. What you want to say is, I got 50% of my music because of this company, you know, rather than nothing, big zero. There's also, publishing companies can also do just administrative fees, where they don't go out and publish your music, they don't go out and promote it, you're responsible for going out and promoting your own music, but they'll just do the paperwork for you. They'll sign you up with ASCAP or BMI, they will make sure that the checks come in, that your music, all your paperwork is submitted to the different organizations, and then they just take 15%, they get the check in, take 15%, write you a check for the rest of it. So there's a lot of different ways that you can work with a publishing company. Okay, so I'm just trying to set the roles here so that as we get into where the money is, you'll have a better idea. Okay, who here is an artist? Recording artist. Okay, well, I'm going to go this way. All right, you're a recording artist. There you go. You're the big A in the room. Okay. Sorry, I don't even know you. That again, this partnership relationship can go with, let's see, here, label. Okay, labels, liability. They take on the liability. They take on the legalities. Labels can be really good friends to artists. Again, if you're an artist and you want to produce your own album, assume all the costs, assume all the marketing, assume whatever you need to do, you may not want a record label. You may want to just do it all yourself. But that encompasses another whole spectrum of paperwork that you've got to deal with. And you assume the liability of manufacturing your music, producing it, getting it out into the marketplace, but you maintain a larger percent of the money that's going to come in for that. A record label, sometimes, you know, artists look at record labels like, oh my God, they took this much out of my cut. But a record label can be a real benefit to artists that don't want to deal with all of that. Record labels, you know, good record labels can be instrumental in getting your music out there. They assume the cost of actually recording for you. They assume the liability of getting everything out into brick and mortar stores, if that's the way you're going to go. So there are some real benefits to relationships between artists and labels. It's just you have to choose what works best for you and how much work you're willing to put into your craft in order to get the return that you want. So those are kind of the four major areas I'm talking about. Oh, then there's licensing money. This is the money part. So we're going to convert, and it's not real. So, okay. So first, what I want to do is I want to talk to composers, the big C over there, and also artists, big A. Yay. Okay. Protect your music. Protect your music. Guard it. Guard it. Be an advocate for your craft. I can't stress that enough. And it's not that hard to do. The first thing you do when you write a song, as the composers are, is go to the copyright office. Register your song. Make sure that you submit as much information as possible to the Copyright Office. Get online to the Copyright Office. Now you can file your music online. It's really easy. It's a couple of steps, so it's maybe not so easy if you don't know how to use a computer, but it is very easy in the scheme of things. Protect your music. Get it online. Get into the Copyright Office, because people that have money out there, that's one of the first places they go to search a song, search for information about a song. They submit lyrics, submit a rough copy of the mele. So, because sometimes you will find there's a song that has the same name, 2 different songs that have the same name, and the studios on the mainland, they don't know Hawaiian music, they don't know these songs, they don't know which one is the right one. So you need to give them as much information as possible so that they can find you. What I'm going to do now is so now we've got the composer over here and the publisher. Composers and publishers are paid separately in different ways than artists and labels. The first way that a composer can make money is to write a song that everybody wants to record. So what is like the coolest title of the song you ever wrote? Coolest title? Yeah, just like some really cool title. Or a song that you'd like to write.
The song that I love is I call Dream Again.
Dream Again, okay. Dream Again in this workshop, it is the hit of 2015. Sweet. It is like score, it's like Beyonce wants to record you, baby. Okay, so 2015 is just a great year for you, and you've written this great song again, Dream Again. So now what happens is you've got people knocking on your door going, I'd like to record your song. Okay, so the artist over here is going to come. There he is. He's knocking at your door, and he's got money. He's got money, and well, maybe not this much money, but yeah. Maybe he doesn't have money, but he better have money, because composer over here, she's not going to take nothing from nobody. So he's going to come knocking at your door, and he's going to say, "I want to record your song." Let's say you've already recorded your song with somebody else. Once it has been recorded by somebody else, you cannot turn him down. He may record, and I'm sorry, the crappiest version of your song that you've ever heard. I mean, every time you hear it, you're going to go like this. But you cannot turn him down once it's been recorded and published. If you've never had it recorded somewhere, you can say, nope, this is mine. I'm keeping this puppy. I'm not going to let it, I'm going to wait for the right person to come. I'm waiting for Beyonce, sorry, to come and record this song. But once he comes knocking at your door and it's been recorded, you have to grant him a mechanical license. It's called a mechanical license. The rate that you get paid as a composer is set by the federal government. You have no say in it, other than to say, oh, I love you, artist. You're so wonderful. I'm not going to charge you for that song. You have the right to take a reduced rate, to give him a reduced rate if he's a friend, or to allow him to record it for free. But the highest rate you can set is what is based on the federal government statutory. And that rate increases every 2 years. Right now, I think is it 0.91 cents? I think it's 0.91 cents for every time he uses, every CD, he has to pay you 9.1 cents for your song. Okay? Oh, hello? You can't, like I said, you can let somebody do it for free, but you should still do the paperwork, regardless of what you do. Now, composers. Record labels may come to you and say, we want to license your song. And this is also very important. Read your agreements. Don't ever sign something that you do not know what you're signing. If you have to, run it by an attorney, run it by a friend, but just don't sign it to say, oh, God, I gotta get off my desk. Because sometimes what will happen is you'll get a mechanical license. If you don't generate it yourself, you'll get a mechanical license from a label, and it says, I will pay you the rate at the time of release. Which means you're now stuck with 9.1 cents for 30 years, where every 2 years it can increase. Okay, so what you want to do is in your mechanical license agreement, you want to say at the current statutory rate set by the federal government. Okay? Make sure, Mr. Artist, that you get all your mechanical licenses before you release your CD. Every one of us, I'm sure, is guilty of having to go back and get a license after a CD has been released. Everybody's going, yeah. It's asking for trouble. Because if you can't find somebody to issue a mechanical license, you'd have to pull that song. Or if it's a song that was never recorded and they said, you got to take your CD off the market. So make sure you do your paperwork. So this again becomes a relationship. So pay your mechanical licenses, pay your royalties to your composers, because they are they've created the piece of work that allows you to put this beautiful song on the radio or out into the public. Sometimes mechanical licenses will say, I will pay you quarterly or every 6 months or whatever for CDs sold. Some will say, I will pay you a one-time fee just at the beginning for the CDs that you manufacture. And you can kind of get out of the way that way. It's kind of clean. If you manufacture 2,000 CDs, if you have the money, just pay the rate up front. Then you don't have to ever worry about reporting every quarter to, we sold 6 albums today, and I'm writing you a check for 54 cents. So make sure that you get your paperwork done, and make sure you pay your composers. Because if you don't pay your composers, then you've got another big issue on your hands. So that is the first way that composers can get licenses, is mechanical licensing. So now he has recorded this beautiful song that is the hit of 2015, and he now becomes the hit of 2015 recording your music. Okay, now all of a sudden studios are going to come calling, and they're going to go, we really want to use that music in a movie that we have, very similar to what I just licensed for Aloha, the Aloha movie. Now there's 2 different kinds of licenses. So now the money person who is going to record Dream Again, and using your rendition of it, that person is now responsible for acquiring 2 licenses, because they are taking the song that was written by you, performed by you, and putting it into a movie, a film, a commercial, a video, any other form of medium. It's called a synchronization license, because what you are doing is you are synchronizing one medium to another, and you're making it a separate medium totally. So they're going to come to you and they're going to say, I want this song. I'm going to use 2 minutes of it as background music in this film. I need to clear both licenses for this. So now there's 2 licenses, and this is kind of where people's eyes glaze over. They gotta go, okay. There's what's called a sync license. A sync license is the license with the composer. They are licensing the actual song itself that was composed by you. Okay? Then they have to license the master. It's called a master license. And that is the artist's rendition of the song that was composed by the composer. So there's 2 totally different licenses. In these instances, you don't have to license your music. The mechanical license is the only one that you actually are mandated to license if it's been released. When it comes to sync license or a master license, you don't have to do it. I worked my butt off trying to clear a song for this movie. Wouldn't budge. Didn't want to do it. Some pilikia that was involved. Nobody.
You mean that we can say no?
You can say no. If they come to you and say, we want to put you on a Jim Beam commercial, and you don't like the drinking aspect of it, you can go, no, thank you. Now it's kind of hard to turn down some of the money that comes down, but you have the right in those to say, no, my music is not available. And that's really, mechanical is the only one that you're mandated to actually license. What's cool about sync licensing and master licensing is that you can set your price. You're not mandated by a federal government that has put a statutory rate on it. You can set your price for licensing like that. And I mean, to be fair to the studios, you don't want to say, I'm $5 million, because they're going to go, bye, I'll find another song. But if they really want it, they're going to offer you a really good rate for it. And if you feel comfortable with it, just say, is that kind of the going rate for everybody? They will, if things for television and film will normally ask for U.S. rights, and that normally includes North America, normally Canada, as well as for all forms of media, when it's released on Netflix and when it's released in DVD and whether it's released on TV and things like that, it's going to cover all of those rights as a one-time payout. It'll ask for the world, so that this movie can be shown throughout the world, and they will ask for it in perpetuity, which means they don't ever have to come back and license it again from you. Once they've licensed it from the film, you've accepted that payment in return for those rights. That being said, there's nothing that says that you can't get other money from this. So let's say that Dream Again has now become this great hit. It's on the soundtrack. They'll license it for the soundtrack too. Has become this huge hit from this movie, and everybody just loves it. Just loves it. And it's going to go, and it's going to start showing in Europe, and it's going to start showing in Japan. It's going to start showing in all kinds of Asia, and it's huge. You really wrote a great song. So, and your rendition of it was just spectacular. So, like I said, I am humbled. I am humbled. I'm not worthy. So now what happens is, what you want to do as a composer is you want to join ASCAP or BMI or CSAC, a Performance Rights Association. Now, this doesn't pertain to you, so don't listen to it. This is composers. Join ASCAP. It's like $90 to join ASCAP. Put all of your music up there. Put your contact information. Please don't forget to change your address and your email if you ever move, because then now what happens is the studios have cue sheets, and they say to you, oh, you've already paid for the royalties for North America, but there's royalties in Japan and royalties in Europe if that movie goes out and plays in those places, and once it goes on TV. And ASCAP has sister programs all around the world, or BMI has sister programs all around the world that each collect. JazzRack in Japan, and they collect everything and they send it to ASCAP, and then ASCAP goes, oh, that's one of our artists, or one of our composers, and they will collect these royalties and send them to you for nothing. It's free money for you. So please let people know who you are. Make sure every time you put something on a CD, put an address, a website, a phone number, because there's nothing worse than me wanting to call somebody and give you money, and we can't find you.
No, you either are ASCAP or BMI or...
Yeah, I think you have to, I don't know, I think you have to be exclusive to one or the other, or CSAC.
You don't recommend one over the other? I don't know the mechanics of them.
I think ASCAP's larger, maybe, but I mean, anybody that's looking for music to license will check both BMI and ASCAP, and you can register online, and you can upload your stuff online, and but please let people know who you are. That it's so hard to pay you when we can't find you. I had one of the songs I had was a very famous family of composers and performers, and I had the heck of a time trying to find these guys, and it turns out that the composers of this song were very, very familiar with what they had to do as far as licensing getting their music to Copyright Office. This was the one song that never got copywritten. We couldn't find it. Just couldn't find it. We know who wrote it. Both both composers, one had died quite some time ago. One just passed away earlier this past year. And then now who do you go to? Oh, we got to go to their kids. How do we find the kids? So it was really hard, and they didn't have it. The music wasn't copywritten, and it was too late to copyright it now. It was written back in the 30s. So now I had to get the one family composer over here, which was represented by his widow, And then I had to go to Hilo, and I had to get the 3 kids of the composer over here, and then I had to get the cousins talking to each other and say, okay, how's this breakout gonna go? And they kind of figured that out and said, okay, 50% here and 50% over here. Okay, now I got back to the studio, and now going, okay, now how are you gonna get money from ASCAP? You don't have a publishing company. And they all went, oh. So we're still working on that one. But please let people know where you are. I mean, seriously, if you put out a CD, yes?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it, when you say, like trying to find the composers, the song they wrote in the 30s, is there like a public domain issue? Like
yes.
It's over a certain amount? Like
there is. And
artists can record that song because it's over 50
yes.
years old?
Yes. And that was another point I was going to bring up, is that at some point, I'm so sorry, your song's going into public domain. And you can't ever, you can't recoup any money from it at that point. It depends on where what year you copyright wrote your song. Because the laws changed, like every 2 years there was a change in laws. Currently, it is 90 years following the death of the last composer. So your music is protected for quite a long time. I mean, just recently, I mean, in the last, several decades, the music of R. Lee finally went into public domain. So anytime all of the Ali'i wrote songs, you're good, record it, because you don't have to pay mechanical royalties on anything that's in public domain.
And it's good music.
And it's beautiful music, beautiful music. But when you go in to ask for a mechanical license from, like if you wanted to record a Beatles song, and you want to go in as an artist and get a mechanical license, that publisher's never going to tell you when it goes into public domain. So you're going to have to be really smart about researching your own thing and knowing when that song goes in public domain so that you don't have to pay them anymore. I mean, we may be dead by then, but I just want you to know that they're going to say, hey, you want to keep sending us money? Keep sending us money. They're not going to tell you that. And a lot of them will try and say it's not in public domain when in fact it will be. So just, you have to be smart, do your homework. Where did I leave off? Obviously, this caffeine has not kicked in enough today.
If you have family sheet music, I mean, somebody in your family that did sheet music, that in and of itself doesn't mean that it was copyrighted?
Yes, and that's kind of a misconception, because you can copyright you can put a copyright symbol on it and show proof that you wrote this song on a certain date. It's copyrighted. The only reason you submit the Copyright Office is to notify people. If they're trying to find you, you can say, yes, it was registered with the Copyright Office. The Copyright Office doesn't go and check to see when you wrote the song. They just take the paperwork and go, great, it's up on the website. So you need to, have ways to prove that you wrote this song on a certain day. The great thing with computers now is that everything has got, stamps on it when the document was originally put together. People used to have to, put their lyrics into an envelope and address it to themselves and mail it to themselves so that there was a, the date on the envelope. But now it's just so much easier. Oh my God, I am old. Good for you. Good for you.
Actually, that might be more important than it looks in a way to make sure that you document your first. Because I do know that you can copyright an arrangement.
Yes.
If I did a sheet music layout, I can copyright that layout. Even though you wrote the song, I can take Dream Again, put it on paper, and copyright the paper form. That's so weird.
You can only copyright an arrangement after the song's gone into public domain.
Oh, really? Because like Lili Mokani's Aloha Oi has 18 copyrights.
I know. Oh, everybody just throws it in. They all send it in going, I'm claiming the arrangement.
That's why.
Yeah, because it's in public domain.
Okay, because that was...
You can't copyright an arrangement, until it goes into public domain. Right. See, you did learn something, Pookie. I'm so glad you came today. I was thinking, score.
Oh, I got much to learn. I fumbled.
Oh, Vaupu. And, I may just be making this stuff up. I just kind of, you ask me a question, I'm just going to give you an answer. Arrangements, and there are copyrights for arrangements. So once a song goes into public domain, people can pay you for an arrangement of a song. So just be aware that's another way to get to. So copyright your arrangements. Go on the Copyright Office, copyright your arrangements. Also in the Copyright Office, artists copyright your sound recording, the actual version of that song, because that you want that noticed too. If people want to look for that version of it, you want to put that on the Copyright Office as well as the composition itself. And they have ways that you can upload MP3 files now to the Copyright Office as well as lyrics.
May I ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
I'm holding the
publisher. The
publisher symbol. So, excuse my ignorance if I'm...
No, there's no such thing as a stupid question, unless you ask it 12 times.
So, would the publisher's job be to find licensing opportunities for the composer?
That could be. As I said earlier, there's a couple different things you can do with your publisher. They can be out there promoting your music for the 50-50 kind of a split. They go out and get licensed.
Artists to cover it, or
not so much that as probably looking for more licensing money to come in.
Same type of situations, or movie, or
and also mechanical licenses. They would be responsible for administering all of that on your behalf. But again, if you have that kind of arrangement with them, it's going to be an even split with them in most cases. If you get a publisher just to do some administration for you, which is they submit your name to ASCAP, they collect the royalties that come in and make sure that they're paid properly. That's a lower percentage, but then you, as a composer, would be responsible for marketing your own music and finding people to bring the money in. Okay. So the downside, I don't want to say downside because that's not right. If you have a publisher that you really, really, really trust, and that's how it should be, they control your music. You've assigned your music over to them. Some people, at least in Hawaii, are nice enough where if somebody says, I want my music back, they would give it back, but they don't have to. You've assigned your music to them. Now maybe you assigned over to them just for a 3-year period, just to see if it will work.
It's their job to make some money off of that music.
Exactly.
So you want them to go out
and a lot of publishers will take on an entire catalog. Like they'll bring a composer in and they'll just take all of their music and have it available for licensing.
Now I'm assuming that in this publisher is, especially if you're, say, a famous publishing place that movie studios go to all the time, are they very selective about who they partner with?
I don't know. That mostly happens on the mainland. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
And I'm sorry. I'm big enough to say I don't know.
It's okay. You also mentioned that you're not talking about how to market your
right. Yeah, that is a whole new. That's a whole other workshop that I hope you would come back for, because there are many other people much wiser than I am in today's digital age about marketing your music through social media and things. I will tell you though, it's going to sound really kind of weird, and it may not be the best thing for you, but if you have a song that you want to get out there, sit in your basement and, well, we don't have basements, sit in your living room and play it on ukulele or play it on a little keyboard or to a kazoo or to anything else and put it on YouTube. It's amazing how much music is found on YouTube. The front singer for Journey, Filipino guy that lived on the streets in the Philippines. And now he is like, who's Steve who? Steve Perry? Oh, I don't remember him.
What have you been missing?
Sounds exactly like him. The guy kicks butt. And they found him on YouTube. So, obviously putting production value behind it would be nice, but people that are looking to find original music can see past that. They can see past the production value, and they can see the song, in many cases, for what it's worth. And they can say, if we put a whole little symphony behind them, and a bassoon, Marcia's available if anybody needs a bassoon player. Then they can see past that. So
Copywriting it first.
Of course.
Oh yeah. But that can serve as a copyright. That can serve as a copyright because it says the date that it was posted. So put it up on YouTube. There is a website that Kavena belonged to for a year, and it was one of those things that sent out emails every day as to different films and TV shows. What is it? Taxi. Thank you, because I was like totally gone with the name. And she did it for a year. Now, she never got any hits, But, and I think it was $400 a year, something like that. $400. But you know, if that's something that you want to invest in, that's another company. And what they do is they send you emails of different opportunities that are coming up for, we want a pop song suitable for a female artist. It needs to have this kind of a feel to it. And then what you do is you respond to that post and you upload your songs. And then what's actually kind of cool about it is that they will send you a response back that says, no, we felt it was too blah, 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 about, and she never actually got a hit with her stuff, but you know, that's another option for you. The places that people will go to try and find music, because it's kind of easy, especially with current composers and artists, it's kind of easy to get in touch with, you know, with them. They've got websites now. There's, you know, they're much more, yeah, they're much more open and they're much more reachable than they used to be when they didn't have a lot of ways to get their contact information out there. I will tell you, there is a wonderful little website, and for those of you who write Hawaiian music, submit it to huapala.org. HUAPALA.org. That is a go-to place for me when I'm looking for lyrics. It's maintained by Rapun, Kaiulani Rapun.
Is it Rapun?
I think she was a Rapun, but and I don't even know where she is. She's on the mainland, right?
No,
she's here.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can find all kinds of Hawaiian stuff. It's got mana'o on the bottom of what the song is about, and chants, and I mean, it really is great. I mean, that's one place I go when I'm searching for Hawaiian music.
Now the lyrics aren't always accurate.
Yeah.
No.
It's worth checking, but it's a starting point.
It's a
She
good,
wants to.
It's a great thing.
It's a good skeleton.
It is, and she's got an incredible database.
And if you have corrections to offer, she's really open to it.
Yep.
She's like 75.
Oh, is she that old?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought she was
Yes.
young. Well, and you know what? I think if you ever you know, use Huapala, I think you should send her like $20 because
Yeah.
you know, she does it for
all.
kokua. She does it to support the artist. She's wonderful. It's Hawaiian music, but there are some English songs. But you know, the good news is for English songs, you can just like listen and write it down. For those of you who don't speak or don't understand the Olelo Hawaii, then this is a really good place to put your lyrics up. I'm going to go back really quickly to the licensing for syncs and masters, because there's something that you want to do so that you're never kind of given the short end of the stick. It's called MFN, Most Favored Nations Status. And Most Favored Nation Status, you can do it in two different ways. Basically, when you agree to a license request from a studio or from TV or for a commercial or anything, you say, I approve this amount, MFN, on a most favored nation status. That means that whatever they pay the composer or artist, whichever is the higher rate, both get paid that rate. Okay? Because what they may do is they may go to the composer and go, you know, you got 3 kids in college and you need some money. I'm going to give you $5 grand. And the artist, you know, he's kind of a hardball, right? We'll pay him 10 to get his music cleared. But if you put in his most favored nations, if he gets 10, you get 10. Now, if you really want to play hardball, you can say most favored nation status for all the music in the movie. But they're not going to buy that because they're going to pay Beyonce a lot more than, you know, what they're going to pay for a Hawaiian song that's going to be for a minute in the background. But most favored nation status with the composer or the artist. And that guarantees that you guys will both be paid the same amount of money.
Just, you know, you mentioned that you were asked to clear some music.
Yes.
So I suppose my question is, did the person who's making the movie, whoever contacted you, come to you with a list of songs that they had already chosen?
Or ask me to recommend songs.
Oh, both?
They can go either way.
Okay.
They can go either way. In this case, the director of the film is Cameron Crowe. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Cameron Crowe. He directed Jerry Maguire. He directed Almost Famous, wrote and directed Almost Famous. Did any of you see Almost Famous?
Yep.
The kid that went on the road with Rolling Stone magazine? That was Cameron Crowe. That was his life. That was his story as Cameron Crowe. So he is a big music guy. So in this case, he brought me a list.
He knew some Hawaiian songs that he wanted.
He knew a
Based
lot.
on his own.
Based on what he'd heard. They filmed here for a long time. He spent a lot of time here. I am so hoping that they do right by Hawaii. I have expressed my concern. They wanted me to clear a chant by Kauluvai Maka.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from the Bishop Museum album. I had to go to the Smithsonian for it. And I went to the studio and I said, you need to give me information on where this chant is being used in the film, because I'm not going to go to the Bishop Museum, the Smithsonian Institute, and license a chant unless I know it's appropriate for where it's going to go.
Sure.
Because I'm, I'd like to go to heaven. I don't want the bachi on me. So, yeah. I don't want my little ass chanted off the planet. Thank you. So they said it's just in the opening titles with, so you will hear Kauluvai Maka. Yeah, as far as I know, it's all still in the movie. There's only one song I licensed that I don't think made it, but I think everything else, and I licensed almost 20 songs for them. So.
And what's the name of the film?
Aloha.
That'll be easy to remember.
Yeah, I know. It's coming out May 29th. It's Bradley Cooper, Emma Stone, Rachel McAdams, Bill Murray, John Krasinski, I think, is in it. And directed by Cameron Crowe, written and directed by Cameron Crowe. And I know that there is culture involved in it, which makes me a little nervous. But I mean, they talk about the Night Marchers. I've only seen like certain scripts, pages from scripts. There was, in this particular instance, there was a song I could not license. I just couldn't do it. I begged, I pleaded, I was weeping. And the record label would not clear the song. The artist wanted it cleared, but there was some real hakaka between the record label and the artist. And the record label said, I don't care how much money you give me, I am never licensing that song.
Was it just a personal
issue, and I'm not even going to bring names up, but that's what I was dealing with. And I mean, I was talking to the president of Sony Music worldwide to see what I could do to do it, and I said, if I can't do it, I don't know if you can. I mean, because I live here, and part of me kind of goes, I respect him for standing up and for saying, I'm sorry, I won't do it. But the other part of me goes, please don't make me look bad in front of Sony Studios. So at that point, they came back to me and said, what do you recommend? Are there other renditions of this song that might work? Are there, what do you think? This is kind of the feeling that we're trying to get. It's a very emotional scene. It was the song of the Hawaiian song of the movie. And so I recommended several other options. I sent several renditions of the song that I thought would be appropriate, but it had to blend in with another song. And so it had to be the right tempo and the right key. And if they adjusted the pitch just a little bit, then it lost kind of the emotion to it. So it was really hard, and they ended up going with the same artist, but a totally different song. So, so that was at that point when they came to me and said, what would you recommend? But in this particular instance, I got a song list, and they said clear this list, and it had all of the information as to song, composer, artist, album it came off of, how long they wanted to use it in the film, what the use was, whether it's background vocal or over the titles or on-screen live performance. And then I just had to find everybody. Labels and artists. That's also a very interesting relationship. Composer, okay, I'm gonna let you know a little secret, because really where the money is in songwriting. Because you get paid from day one. The minute your song starts to get recorded, you're paid for it. Artists and labels, unless you're your own label, if you've recorded with another label, which has numerous benefits, you have to pay off your production folder before you start getting money as an artist. Okay, so what's going to happen is your label is going to take you into the studio. The benefit is you don't have to put any money out. The label takes the liability of the entire recording process. So that's really good if you don't have no money, because you want to put out an album, but you don't have the money to do it. I mean, it's $2,500 to record kind of a low-key tract, just to record one song. So to put out an album, you're talking $20,000. Where a label can help you with that, but what happens is they're keeping track of everything that is a part of how much it costs to put your album out. how much you pay your musicians that come in, how much it costs. It shouldn't include manufacturing, because that should be included in the sale price of the CD. Okay, it should include just all the production work that goes into making your album. And that is, and that could be the studio time, the engineer, the musicians, the
Mixes.
the mixes, the mastering, things like that. So what has to happen at that point is that the label's going to recoup that money before they start paying your artist royalties. Okay, so it's called a production folder, and what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, we sold 500 CDs this year. This year here we're taking that your portion, the artist portion of that CD, whatever you've negotiated with your label, whether it's $1.50 or $2 a CD for the artist, and we're going to apply it against your production folder. So until that $15,000, $20,000 is paid off, that's when you'll start seeing your artist royalties from a record label. Because the record label's not going in this to lose money. They're going in to help you get your music out there. And if you have a huge album, then that production folder will go away. I used to hear horror stories about, not in Hawaii, but when rock and roll artists would come in. And the record label say, we're going to take you to the show in limousines, and we're going to have wine in the back and things, and all of a sudden their production folder was going higher and higher. There are people that sold millions of records that never saw an artist royalty. So, take the bus. To your gigs, take the bus. Yeah, seriously, like Costco water, backstage. And that's because nobody read their agreements. Nobody knew what they were signing. They were so excited about being a rock star that they didn't read their agreements. Just be smart. That's all I'm just saying. Just be smart. And if you don't want to do that part of it, find someone that will help you do it. Artists, one more way for you guys to get money. It's called Sound Exchange. Sound Exchange is this company that collects royalties on behalf of artists. Now, ASCAP does it for composers and BMI. Those kind of people do it for composers. Sound Exchange is strictly for artists. Because now what's happening is you've got your music on the radio, you've got your music in overhead systems in hotels, restaurants, airports. You've got it, as background music streaming live on the TV cable stations and stuff like that. Sound Exchange collects money, has negotiated agreements with radio and TV and hotels and things like that, and they collect a percentage of royalties on behalf of artists. They are a nonprofit organization. You sign up for free. You submit your music on a piece of paper, and you have your artist name, the name of the song, the UPC code, the ISRC code. Make sure you put ISRC codes in all your music too, artists. Because when a radio station plays it, it tracks. It's embedded in the song. I'm sure you guys that record know about ISRC codes. No? Yes? It's embedded in the song itself for identification purposes. And you submit this to Sound Exchange, and then they get all this money, and they do random searches for radio stations. Radio stations will have to provide them with a random playlist for 2 hours on such and such a day. And if your song pops up on that, you get a check. You get money. Free. Found money. Nothing you have to do other than register. It's free. Last year, they gave out $773 million to artists around the United States. Found free money. Register with Sound Exchange as an artist. I don't care whether your music never gets recorded, gets played. What if it does? It may be 17 cents you get, but it's better than a sharp stick in the eye. Now, sidebar. While composers' songs go into public domain, an artist's rendition never goes into public domain. They always, if they want to use your rendition of a song, they always have to license it. So there's benefits to being a composer. There's benefits to being an artist. There's benefits to being a label. What I want you to understand is that your relationship between composers and publishers and artists and labels, it needs to be a partnership. You shouldn't go into it thinking, oh my God, they're ripping me off, they're taking this kind of money, or I don't have to do anything, I got a label, they'll do everything for me. you really need to put some work into your craft and be your own advocate for your work. And so treat it like a partnership. Treat it that each one of you has to bring something to it and a significant amount of work. Same with composers and publishers. It's got to be a symbiotic relationship that just works. And that's why it's important to trust who you're working with and like who you're working with and make some decisions. And if you don't find anybody that you can work with, do it yourself. You can. It just takes a lot more work, a lot of paperwork. So my final thing here, if there's no more questions, is join organizations that support music. You are all here because you're members of Hōkū. That, bing, that's the first thing you should be checking off your thing. Encourage new artists, encourage new composers to join Hōkū. They sponsor so many amazing things for you. They sponsor workshops and give opportunities to your music and your craft and your work. And we don't have any other organization like that in Hawaii that does this. So encourage people to join. It's, you know, it's a check every 2 years. It's like, you know, join. And then you have these benefits of these amazing workshops. So do that. If you are an artist or a composer that has credits to your name, join NARAS. NARAS is it's our region of the Grammys. Okay, and it's the North America Grammy organization, which Hawaii belongs to. There have been people that have been trying for years to get a Hawaii branch, and we just can't get people to join. I don't know why.
How is it spelled?
N-A-R.
Oh, NARIS. It's an acronym.
A-S.
AS? Oh,
N-A-R-I-S, yeah.
okay.
And we're part of the Pacific Northwest chapter.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to tell you a really sad story. We first got Hawaiian music Grammy category, which has sort of now been put back into world and roots music. The very first year we had a Hawaiian music category, there was a band, and I'm not going to say the name because it's so sad, that was up for a Grammy. And not one of them could vote for their music because they had not joined NARAS. Now, isn't that sad? And it was like a 5-member band. You would think that they could, you know, they could each do it, and they couldn't vote because they had not joined. That's sad when you can't even vote for your own music. So if you get, you know, I just, you know, it is money. I get it. And, you know, in this day and age and living in Hawaii, you know how expensive it is here. But if you're serious about your music, do what you have to get the support. So this leads me to a joke about partnerships and about what people have to do in return to get something. So there's a guy, and every day he's praying to God. He's saying, please, God, let me win the lottery. Please, God, let me win the lottery. Wakes up the next morning, nothing. Greg, please, please, God. This goes on for weeks. Please, God, let me win the lottery. And finally, out of the heavens booms this voice that says, Joe, meet me halfway, buy a ticket. Okay? So that's what I'm saying, buy a ticket. Get in there so that these organizations can help you, because it is a partnership, and it's it can help you. Not every one of your songs is going to be a massive hit like your song, which is the hit of the year, or your rendition of it. I mean, just monster. But you know, if you believe in your music, I mean, I believe in your music. I think Hawaii musicians turn out the most diverse kind of music in the entire world. More than Nashville. I mean, more than any place else in the world. We have the most amazing talent and the most amazing musicians, and we are fueled by an indigenous culture that allows us to do music in our own language, and and also in other languages. I mean, this is an amazing musical place, and you should all be really, 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 really proud of what you have done to put us on the market on a global basis, because it takes a village. Not one artist is out there without the support of every single person that started in this industry from the time when we started recording music and writing music. I mean, we go back to our kupuna, way, way, way back, who were writing chants that are still being performed today. That is a remarkable feat, and we should be really proud of that. So give me a CLAP.
Hey!
Hey! Yeah, oh, yeah. So,
Oh,
no. No, but thank you guys. I mean, I thought maybe I'd have like 3 people. One would be my daughter. You know, one would be Gaylord because he has to open the door. You know, and Lee because she loves me. You know, and Cindy because she loves me too. Fan club.
No, I learned a lot. I'm glad I came.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Copyright your music.
That's what I learned. Is put somebody on task, get it done.
So I think maybe what we should do is the next workshop should be how to actually get your music out there into the real world. And there is somebody much more adept at this than I am in this digital age where I don't know a twit from a or tweet from a twit. I refuse to do Twitter. So thank you guys, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions for Suzi before we break?
No, that just
Cool.
No?
Cool.
Good.
For your time, that was awesome.
Yes, how long more have for Suzi?
Oh no!